She was left to die beneath twin suns, her body bound, her pride unbroken. They called her a traitor for refusing a tyrant's hand. But when Major Cole Hunter found her in the dust, bleeding and silent, he didn't see an enemy. He saw a reason to break every rule he'd ever followed. The heat hit like a hammer the moment Major Cole Hunter stepped out of the rover. The twin suns glared down on Virella's glass dunes, turning the air into liquid light. Every breath tasted of metal and burnt sand. Another perfect day in paradise, he muttered, shielding his eyes. His onboard AI, ARC-9, buzzed through the comms with a cheerful chirp. Temperature 115 degrees. Hydration warning again. Yeah. Add it to the list. Then he saw her. At first, she looked like wreckage, a splash of pale blue fabric half buried by shifting sand. But the fabric moved. Cole's instincts kicked in. He signaled his escort to hold position, unholstered his sidearm, and trudged toward the figure. The dunes whispered under his boots, the silence heavy enough to make him check for snipers. It wasn't a trap. It was a woman. Her skin was the color of moonlight on water, bruised and blistered. Rope burns crossed her wrists. Ceremonial markings glimmered faintly beneath the grime. When he pressed 2 fingers to her neck, he felt the weakest flutter of life. "Hey, stay with me!" Her eyelids trembled open, revealing eyes the shade of storm violets. "Don't!" "Take me back," she rasped. Cole glanced at the horizon. In the distance, smoke rose, hoverbikes. Maybe 6, maybe 10. They were coming fast. "Orc-9, he said quietly. "Tell me this isn't the stupidest thing I've done all year. Statistically, Major, it's in your top 3. "Good enough." He scooped her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. The moment he turned, blaster fire sliced across the sand, searing the air. Cole sprinted for the rover, bullets chewing the ground behind him. He dove into the driver's seat, slammed the hatch, and gunned the engine. The rover roared to life, plowing through the dunes as explosions thundered in his wake. Inside, the woman coughed weakly, eyes unfocused. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lyra," she whispered. "They'll kill you for this." Cole allowed himself a tight grin. Wouldn't be the first time someone tried. Outside, the suns bled red across the sky as the chase began. Inside, a soldier who'd spent years obeying orders realized he'd just broken the only one that ever mattered. Outpost 17 didn't look like salvation. It looked like a rusted coffin, wedged between cliffs, metal walls, flickering lights, and the smell of hot coolant that never left your clothes. Cole brought the rover screeching through the gates just before they sealed shut behind him. The medbay lights hummed as he carried Lyra inside. The human doctors froze, eyes darting from her blue skin to his rank patch. Nobody spoke until Commander Halverson stormed in, boots striking the deck like gunfire. "Major Hunter," the older man snapped. "What part of no unauthorized civilian sounds unclear?" Cole set Lyra gently on a cot. "She's barely breathing, sir. I wasn't about to leave her in the dunes to bake." Halverson's glare could have melted steel. "You just painted a target on this base. The Iron Fangs are already sniffing around. If they find her here, they'll have to go through me," Cole cut in. His voice was calm, but the weight behind it silenced the room. Halverson exhaled hard. "Fine. Medical quarantine only." "Then she's gone." When the door hissed shut, Cole sank into a chair beside her bed. For the first time since the rescue, he really looked at her. Even unconscious, she carried a quiet defiance, the kind soldiers lose after their first war. HFY hovered from his wristband, projecting a faint blue shimmer. "You realize this is how every tragic romance in the archives starts," it teased. Cole smirked. "Relax, she's not my type. She's breathing, that's all that matters." Hours later, Lyra woke. Her voice was barely a whisper. "You shouldn't have saved me." "Yeah, I get that a lot." She smiled, a small, tired curve that somehow softened the whole room. "On my world, refusing a lord's proposal is treason. They call it the cleansing. I chose death instead." Cole stared, speechless for once. He'd seen soldiers die for flags, for orders, never for freedom. Outside, alarms blared, a long rising note that froze the medstaff mid-step. A transmission crackled through the base speakers. "Attention, Terran Command. Deliver the fugitive Lyra Keth immediately, or face orbital retaliation. Halverson's voice followed, sharp and cold. Major Hunter. My office, now! Cole looked down at Lyra. Guess they found you. She met his gaze, steady despite the fear. Guess you're part of it now? The corridor outside Halverson's office felt colder than the desert ever did. Cole stood at attention, still streaked with sand and guilt. The commander's holographic desk flickered between static and a crimson warning symbol. Incoming transmission. On the display, a figure appeared. Lord Raxon, leader of the Iron Fangs. His armor gleamed black and red, eyes sharp as knives. Terran commander, Raxon purred, voice low and cruel. You have something of mine. Return her, or I turn your base into glass. Halverson's jaw tightened. We don't answer to warlords. Then burn with her. The signal cut, leaving a hum that felt like a heartbeat. Cole stepped forward. Sir, you know he's not bluffing. Halverson gave him a long, measuring look. And you know I should turn you over for insubordination. But I won't, not yet. We'll relocate her before dawn. Quietly. Cole nodded, pretending to agree. But by the time the lights dimmed for night cycle, he was already in the hangar. Lyra waited beside a small patrol craft, her pale features lit by the engine's pulse. You're really doing this? She asked softly. Can't exactly let my new friend get vaporized, Cole said, forcing a grin. Besides, I've already broken enough rules to need a new career. Her eyes flicked to the shadows. You trust too easily. Not really. I just stopped caring about the odds. They launched into the night sky, engines cutting through clouds heavy with stormlight. For a few brief minutes, the world below looked peaceful. Gold and silver dunes under twin moons. Then the radar screamed, drones, dozens of them. Lyra reached across the console, fingers trembling. They've found us. A missile streaked past, exploding close enough to rattle their bones. Cole jerked the controls, adrenaline burning through the fog of exhaustion. Hold on! The craft dove toward a canyon, skimming stone walls that flashed past in blurs of orange and shadow. A second hit rocked the ship. Alarms flared. Engines gone, ARC-9 reported, voice oddly calm. Impact probability, 97%. Cole tightened his grip. Then let's make it an interesting 97. The ship tore through a final wall of smoke, spiraling toward the canyon floor, and somewhere in the chaos, Cole realized someone had leaked their escape route. Someone at the base wanted them dead. The crash left silence, the kind that hums inside your skull after the world stops shaking. Cole's head pounded, smoke curling from the cracked console. Onku-9 blinked weakly on his wrist, its voice reduced to static. Lyra was alive, bruised, coughing, but alive. She looked at the wreckage with a strange calm, as if she'd seen worse. Maybe she had. Cole pushed the hatch open, dragging her into the burning canyon air. The ground glowed faintly underfoot, pulsing veins of molten crystal threading through the rock. The entire place felt alive and angry. What is this? He asked, squinting through the heat haze. Lyra's gaze followed the glowing veins to the canyon's heart. The core of fire, she whispered. Ancient energy buried by my ancestors. Raxon's been searching for it for years. He wants to weaponize it. Cole gave a short laugh, half disbelief, half exhaustion. Of course he does. Why settle for tyranny when you can have planetary annihilation? Her expression softened. This isn't your war, Cole. He met her eyes, tired, defiant, and human to the bone. It is now. Before she could reply, movement rippled across the cliffs. Soldiers, Iron Fangs, closing in fast. Cole crouched behind a jagged ridge, scanning their formation. They shouldn't have found us this quick. Someone fed them coordinates, Lyra hesitated. Halverson, Cole's chest tightened. The man he'd trusted, who'd once saved his life, had sold them out. HFY, he murmured, tapping his wrist. The AI flickered back online. Patch into their comms. A faint signal crackled. Halverson's voice. Target confirmed. Extract the girl. Leave the human. He's expendable. Cole exhaled slowly, anger steady as a heartbeat. Guess loyalty's bad for business. Blaster fire erupted from the canyon walls. Cole returned shots with practiced precision, each pull of the trigger deliberate. Lyra pressed a hand to the ground, eyes glowing faintly. Energy surged from the veins, forming a shimmering barrier that deflected incoming fire. "Remind me to thank you for that later," Cole said. Ducking behind cover, Lyra managed a small, fierce smile. "You'll have to survive first." He checked his ammo, then looked at her, truly looked. "We both will." And as the air shimmered with heat and gunfire, they prepared to fight side by side, not soldier and alien anymore, but equals standing against the fire. Dawn came slow, bleeding gold through the canyon smoke. The battlefield was quiet now, only the hiss of cooling metal and the low crackle of fire echoing between the rocks. Cole leaned against a half-collapsed boulder, breathing hard, his armor scorched and half-melted. Lyra knelt beside him, hands glowing faintly as she sealed the cut across his shoulder. The energy from the core had dimmed, fading back into the earth like an exhausted heartbeat. "You should rest," she whispered. Cole gave a dry laugh that turned into a cough. "I'll rest when the galaxy stops trying to kill us," she smiled, tired, beautiful, real. "For someone who claims not to care, you fight like a man who still believes in something." He looked at her, sunlight catching in her pale hair. "Maybe I found something worth believing in." Above them, the wreckage of Raxin's command ship still smoldered. The warlord was gone, consumed by the same fire he'd tried to control. Halvorsen's betrayal had ended too. The Terran fleet intercepted his escape shuttle at orbit. There'd be justice, or something like it. Cole stared at the rising suns, their twin lights spilling over Lyra's face. "So what happens now?" Lyra stood, the desert wind tugging at her torn robes. "Now we rebuild. My people are scattered, but the core can heal what it once destroyed. We'll make Varela live again." He tried to stand and winced. She caught his arm, steadying him. "You could stay," she said softly. "Your world doesn't need another soldier. Mine needs someone who remembers what mercy looks like." Cole studied her, the stubborn tilt of her chin, the spark in her eyes, and felt something shift inside him. For the first time in years, the idea of staying didn't feel like giving up. "Arc 9, he muttered, glancing at his cracked wristband. "Thoughts?" The AI fizzed weakly. "Statistically, love is a tactical disadvantage. But I'm rooting for it anyway." Lyra laughed, a sound brighter than the suns above them. Cole took her hand. "Guess we'll test those odds." As they walked toward the light, the twin suns rose higher, not symbols of war this time, but of something simpler, stronger, and far rarer in any galaxy. Hope.